A business owner in Mandeville, in the Mandeville neighborhood, is crying foul about what moved in right next door. But did local leaders overlook the problem? Ford investigates.
Could better mental health care or better diagnosis by responding officers have prevented recent tragedies?
And researchers say they have found a gene that identifies whether you will develop Alzheimer's.
From WWL-TV, the spirit of Louisiana. This is Louisiana's news leader. Channel 4's Eyewitness News Night Watch.
Good evening, I'm Lucy Bustamante.
And I'm Mike Hoss. Those who live in a quiet neighborhood in Mandeville say a drug and alcohol rehab home called the Oxford House snuck into their neighborhood.
The problem was discovered, even debated by local leaders, but was never solved. In a 4 Investigates report, we uncover email communications that show someone dropped the ball.
18 months ago, Nathan and Susan Everhart started a new business out of their home in the old Golden Shore subdivision in Mandeville.
I applied for my license through the city and followed all the rules and regulations of an official daycare.
She took in 6 children, and a few months later, the house next door at 226 Cindy Lou Place took in about 6 women. She dropped by to introduce herself and learned that it was a group home for recovering alcoholics, known as the Oxford House, and the 6 women were not related. City law prohibits more than 4 unrelated people from living together. She found out it was the second Oxford House in the neighborhood, the other one being a block away at 141 Cindy Lou Place. It has been there for about 2 years. Susan was shocked, but since the women didn't cause much trouble, she didn't complain, until the scene changed.
We were actually on vacation. When we came back, it was an all-men's home.
Every day there was loitering outside the house. It's kind of been that continuously now. And various people come by. There's high traffic. They're constantly outside smoking. I have 2 young girls living at home. One's 10 and one's 14 now. And I don't even want to let them go outside and play in the front yard anymore.
Susan says, especially after one of those men catcalled her 14-year-old daughter. She called her councilwoman, Carla Buckholtz, who called police. Buckholtz says a detective told her the man lied on his application to join the home and had been evicted.
It didn't provide any comfort to me at all. It just means that more can lie on their applications and the process is broken.
Susan contacted the Homeowners Association, whose president, Ted Ralph, had already begun asking how the houses had slipped into their neighborhood without proper approval.
I challenged the 2 houses on 2 grounds initially. One was the number of people in the house, and the other one was the distance of the houses between each other. These 2 houses are 850 feet apart.
According to David Cressy, the Mandeville city attorney, the Oxford House does violate the city ordinance that prohibits a home to be occupied by more than 4 unrelated adults. But Cressy says that the city ordinance may be trumped by federal law that prohibits discrimination in housing. This string of emails obtained by Eyewitness News shows that council members Trilby Lenfant, Carla Buckholtz, and then Mayor Eddie Price, as well as City Attorney David Cressy, debated the problem throughout all last summer, but never found a solution. The closest they came was a resolution drafted by Lenfant that would have required public hearings before a group home could be approved, but the resolution was not formally introduced. Around the same time, then Mandeville Mayor Eddie Price wrote this email to the city attorney and others. I am not opposed to group homes. I believe that people with handicaps should be afforded a place to live. The intent was to allow for the homes because of the Fair Housing Act, but they shouldn't change the nature of the neighborhood in the process. That is certainly not fair to the other homeowners whose biggest purchase ever is the investment in their homes, end quote. Cressy says the city did not know about the transaction since they were business deals with private owners. He agrees the Oxford houses violate city ordinance, but he also believes the occupants are protected by part of a federal law known as reasonable accommodation. Reasonable accommodation basically says that exceptions to rules and laws must sometimes be made to give people with disabilities, including recovering alcoholics, equal access to housing. Cressy spoke with WWL-TV's Katie Moore.
Shouldn't they have applied for this reasonable accommodation back when they originally signed the leases with the property owners?
They should have asked for a reasonable accommodation as soon as they knew they violated our ordinance, yes.
How did they manage to slip under Mandeville's radar?
We don't have a radar. I mean, we don't really know who's living in what house. We don't know if the people next door to me are alcoholics.
But now the neighborhood knows about the houses, and nervous residents call police over the slightest suspicions. Just last week, police were called 3 times. Oxford House is a national organization that runs 1,200 group homes throughout the country. Marty Walker oversees 55 of them in Louisiana. 9 of them are in St. Tammany Parish. He says residents are required to follow strict rules, which include staying sober, finding a job, paying rent, and continuing their treatment.
Everybody here works a job. Everybody here goes to meetings. We don't hold parties. We don't throw beer cans in neighbors' yards. I mean, we're not disruptive. And we go to that great lengths to make sure that we're not.
Eberhard says she is running out of time to talk.
Well, since they've opened, I've lost 3 children, one of which came forward and stated that it was due to the Oxford homes. And these are children that I've had since I opened. There was no reason other than that.
She's afraid that soon she will have to pick up the toys in the playroom for good.
I'm in an extremely tough situation. I'm losing my property value. I am losing my children, my employment. I am suffering the safety of my children. I am having to contemplate moving in a bad economical time. And all because I followed the rules and did what I was supposed to do. And the benefit is going to towards the people who are not.
We contacted newly elected Mayor Donald Villery about the complaints, and he said that he is planning a meeting on the issue. He says that they will have an open house at one of the homes to help clear the air between occupants and their neighbors. And remember that you can always send tips to the 4 Investigates team by logging on to our website, WWLTV.com. Simply fill out the form, click submit, and your news tip will be sent directly to our investigative department. Mike?